Hey, lady, how are you?
Hey, Kathy, I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. It's Wednesday night. It's
I
fabulous.
know. It's already Wednesday again.
Kind of crazy,
There's-
right?
Yeah, it is.
It seems like yesterday we were just doing last month.
Doesn't it? It
Yeah.
really does.
But then in a way, it seems like 10 years ago since we did this because I've been so busy. And you've
Yeah,
been busy. You've been
I
busy.
have been.
Yeah. And
Hey,
I'm sure everybody,
Judy.
yep. Hey,
People
Judy.
are starting to come in. Yay.
Awesome. And then I'm sure everybody else is just as busy. So everybody has their level of busy. Everybody's busy.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. But okay. Cool beans.
you got a good purple color shirt on. Good for the theme, friend.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello, Denise. How are you?
Hi.
Where are
Hi,
you
Denise.
from, Denise and Judy? Where are you guys from? Would love to hear where you guys are from. So, what are we going to talk about tonight, Miss Angela?
Think we're talking about how to make getting started on quilting easier. Like how to actually
Okay.
start quilting a quilt, how
Or
to decide
okay.
what to put on it, right?
Okay. All right. Judy's from Georgia, Texas. Yay! Love
Yay.
it. Down south where it's warmer. Oh wait,
And
you're
Kim is,
warmer, Miss Angela.
yeah, I'm more, Texas and I are about the same. Atlanta's about the same too. So, and
Hello.
then we have Oklahoma. So
Yes.
yeah, we're all
We just
warmer
drove through
already.
Oklahoma. It was really weird. Can I just tell you, it was really weird driving through Oklahoma after Toby Keith has died because there's signs all over about Toby Keith, right? And we
I
drove
know.
through his hometown. So, it's kind of sad. It was just, I mean, it was all internal in my brain. I didn't like, but it was still kind of interesting.
And it is sad.
Yeah. So
So
it's a
yeah.
beautiful, I love the red clay. My grandson went with us, right? So Liam is with us, and we stopped at the gas station, and there's red footprints, and he's like, "What is that?" So,
Okay.
all right, you okay?
So he's trying to figure out why we lost Facebook for some reason.
Oh, it's fine. We'll just keep on going.
I'm just going to keep on going. It'll be
All right.
okay.
So why don't you start, Miss Angela, with where? What would you say? Where's your first start?
Okay, so a lot of times when you start a quilt, it's hard to decide what you're going to quilt on that quilt, right? Um, Deciding what designs you want to put on, if you want to custom quilt it, if you want to pantograph quilt it, what you want to do to that quilt,
Hmm.
right? So there's some tricks that professional long armers use to help them decide what they're going to quilt on a quilt because we don't have a lot of time to wait in between quilts. So one of them is that a lot of us actually have our customers choose. Okay, Facebook's back. A lot of us have our customers choose like our pantographs
Hmm.
and things like that, so that we don't have to make those choices, right? But when you're first starting out, there's some tricks that you can do that can help you make those decisions up front. Okay. One of which is if you think you're going to be doing just edge to edge quilting, right?
Hmm.
You can choose like 10 pantographs. I wouldn't get crazy with pantographs when I'm first buying pantographs, but buy 10 solid pantographs that have different motifs to them. Like get one that has flowers, one that's feathers, right? Different feels to those pantographs, right? So that when you have a very traditional quilt, you can put feathers on it or you can put an all over meander on it, right? When you have something that's very, very modern, you're probably not going to use feathers on it. You could, but most modern quilters aren't feather crazy, right? So you might want to have something that has geometric lines or swirls on it, right? To
Right.
do modern quilts. So, but really, if you look at like a, a basic 10 pantograph set, right? That you're going to start out with that's going to give you those small baby steps on what you're going to choose.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So and that's how I started with pantographs is I had a friend who was a pantograph quilter. She sat down with me and she helped me pick out 10 pantographs that I bought digital copies of because I didn't do this as paper pantographs. That was never my thing, right? Um, and it gave me some that weren't already in the program that I could use and that I liked. Some of the just basic, like a stipple, is in the program already, right? There's some really good if you have Quilt Path, and you go under the free bonus design folder. Jessica has some really good like swirls that
Yes.
are great for modern quilts, right? That are
Mhm.
in the program, so you don't have to worry about that. But I would pick out the ones that I think look modern, right? The ones
Mhm.
that look traditional, the ones that look like they would be great on a baby or a kid's quilt, right? And keep a list of them, a short list, so that when I couldn't figure out what I wanted to quilt, I'd have something to look at to get me going, right? So the whole idea behind this is to give yourself some cheat steps or some baby steps to get you going.
Right. Don't buy 30,000 panographs. There's already a lot that's in there, but pick out and look and discern and pick out which ones you like kind of the best, and only let your customers pick from those 10. They
To
do
start
not
out
need
with,
to
yeah.
right. They do not need to know you have X amount of, thousands or 500 or 700, whatever your machine comes with on your system. They don't need to know that.
It's overwhelming to your customers. So, I have a huge book of panographs that I work with my customers on. That
Mhm.
being said, I'll sit there and talk to my customers and go, "Okay, so, what do you see this quilt being used for?" Um, somebody's graduated from college, girl or boy, right? What's their major, right? Trying to see what kind of ideas I can come up with for that quilt. And then I say, "Have you thought about these 3 panographs?" Right? And show them like 3
Mhm.
generic edge to edge panographs, or it could be, let's say that they are graduating from NC State. It may be things that have wolves on them, or because they're the wolf pack, right? So I try to come up with ideas for them to kick them off. Otherwise, looking at a book that has 3,000 panographs on it will stop someone cold. Like,
Mhm.
they don't know what they want on that quilt, and it could take them hours to make that decision, and I don't
Or
have hours,
right,
right?
don't have hours while the customer or
Mhm.
right, if you're quilting for others or if you're quilting for
Yeah.
yourself, you could debate in your head forever.
Mhm. Yeah. So when you first start quilting, we talk about dancing with your machine, and it's not, "I have music on and I'm having fun." It's more, I walk up to it, I can't decide what I'm gonna quilt, and I step back, and then I walk back up to it, I can't decide what I'm gonna quilt, and I step back, right? So I'm
Mhm.
dancing with it, but the machine's not moving. We
Right.
want you to get your machines moving,
Mhm.
okay? So
Mhm.
that was kind of our idea of what we were gonna talk about, is different ways to get you to get those machines actually moving. The machines like it best when they are moving.
And
Okay.
right. Mhm.
Yeah.
For
So how do
sure.
you do it, Kathy?
Well, when I first started, I did have my core my book has definitely grown, and, and it seems like also, it's a process too when we hire new people and that are helping an intake of a quilt. They need to get to know the lay of the book. They need to get to know the lay of how to ask customers who need to be guided, right? So, simple, like you said, simple, modern, traditional swirls versus feathers, that kind of stuff, right? Um, I also like to read reviews from pantographs as well, because I think those are very important, like stitched out easily or things to think about is if you are working for other people or you're doing a lot of charity quilts, I would put this in the same category and you want to get things that are nice but get done at a quicker pace that I don't have any back stitching on it. I like the where the needle
Right.
no back stitching, right?
Right. So I have a feather, or not a feather, but a leaf pantograph that I love. It's by Tracy. So it's called Pergola, and it's available on Urban Elements. And I love the pantograph. I love how it quilts out. I love the density it quilts out at.
Mhm.
But I will say it takes forever. So even though I love it, it's one that I don't necessarily point out to customers a lot,
Right. Right.
because it just takes a long time. It doesn't actually backstitch, it echoes itself.
Okay.
So all the little swirls have these really fine echoes that go with them, so every time you quilt a line, it's quilting it twice.
Mhm.
But yeah, so it's things that you start looking at after a while and going, okay, if I can quilt this one, I do quilt that one at like 16 or 17 inches. I quilt it huge and it looks fabulous, right?
Mhm,
It
mhm,
gives you kind of a medium density, even being that big. But it's
mm.
not one that I would quilt like at even under like 10 inches. It would be too small. It would take too long.
Right.
So,
Well,
right. Yeah.
and that goes to too for paper pantographs.
Oh,
Because I have a lot of
yeah.
people with paper pantographs. I am not gonna pick out for my customers that echoing or really tiny swirls that go back and forth on each other. I try to get the simple one-liners, as I call them, one-liners. There's no the
Yeah.
one-liners through, and even the lined ones are
So
hard as on a paper pantograph to make sure it looks smooth.
mhm. Trace with your finger and make sure you can get a path because there are people that can backtrack when they're doing paper pantographs. I would never have thought when I first started doing this that paper pantographs would have backtracking on them,
Mhm,
right? Because you can't see what you're doing. You're on the back of the machine. And yet I have seen paper pantographs that you had to backtrack on.
mhm.
So I'm not saying don't buy them, but wait until you're really good to buy them.
Right,
Because
or
yeah,
not that you're not worried about them being perfectly on the line.
yeah, purposely don't, purposefully don't put them on the line, right?
Right,
Don't
right,
backtrack.
exactly,
Make it a design decision,
right, because remember
right?
that quote mistake can be a design choice if it's done
Right,
twice or 3 times, 4 times, 5 times.
right. So yeah. And then, the same thing is gonna go for, when you're doing custom quilting.
Mhm,
So, one of the things when you start custom quilting that you'll find is you end up with a style that you feel very comfortable with that becomes your go-to if nobody is asking you for specific things, right? So,
mhm,
I tend to do things with swirls or feathers in some areas and then straight line work in others, right? Because I like the juxtaposition of those 2 things together. So like Angela Walters calls it dot to dot quilting. I actually
mm,
think of it as ruler work, right?
mhm,
Where
mhm,
you're deciding like on a seam line, you're going to change your directions on a straight line,
mhm,
right? It's very, very effective. It's actually pretty quick to do once you get used to it. And it you get to where you have a style that you feel very comfortable with and that you become known for,
mhm,
right? Um, and that actually makes it easier for you to decide what you're going to do because when I walk up to a quilt, I know I'm going to have ruler work on it if I'm doing custom work of some sort, and more than likely it's going to have either feathers or swirls, right?
right,
So which sounds, like I'm copping out, but I've made a business out of this. Like, that's what I did
mhm,
for the first 9 years I was quilting, and I was turning people away because I didn't have enough time to custom quilt everybody's.
right,
So, I was obviously doing it effectively, right? Um, but it's a lot of work. Custom quilting to that level is a lot of
mm,
work, right?
mhm,
I find myself doing the same thing now that I'm computer custom quilting, right? I've got if you were to look at my designs, a lot of blocks that have like feathers and swirls in them, and a lot of blocks that look a lot like ruler work,
right.
right? So yeah,
What would you tell somebody who gets in that same rut? Because we can get into ruts, because our eye gets drawn t I love purple and teal together, no kidding, that's why I made my logo that, right? To get myself out of that rut, though, I actually once I got comfortable and I figured out which shop I like to buy my pantographs from, I signed up for their membership for a little bit.
yeah. Well, and you'll find that shops have personalities that, unless they have a lot of designers working for them, if it's the same person doing all of the designs, they
Mhm,
become very almost repetitive. One of my favorite shops that I love shopping for is One Song Needleworks, right?
mhm,
um, Very high-end heirloom feathers in a lot of her designs. When you really start looking at her designs, a lot of them are very, very similar, right? Because it's all Donna doing them, right?
mhm.
if you go and you look at like Intelligent Quilting, or if you look at Urban Elements, where you have a bunch of different designers designing for them, you get a lot of different designs, right? So I do try to buy my digital designs when I'm buying from different sources to make sure that I'm not getting into that, you know,
Right.
pigeonhole type thing.
Susie's got a good question. You wanna go ahead? Yes.
Yeah, it says, "Do you find custom quilting can be as profitable as panographs?" Okay, so did I make a lot of money custom quilting? Yeah, I did. Did I work really hard for that money and really long hours? I did. So what I found was one of my besties here in North Carolina is a pantograph quilter, and we made dollar for dollar every year about the same amount of money.
Mhm.
She worked a fraction of the hours that I worked.
Mhm.
Okay, so can you make money doing it? Yeah, you can. Just know that you need to have your pantograph business needs to be much bigger than your custom business does, for you to make for it to be a profitable, business, right? Only doing custom quilting, there's Sherry, there's the person, my friend who's a really good pantograph quilter just chimed in,
Yep.
right? Um, so she would tell you the same thing. We made pretty equal money. We were very honest with what the 2 of us were making,
Mhm.
and I was putting in a lot of hours, like, because quilts would take me a week, and she would be doing 5 or
Mhm.
6 quilts in that time.
Right.
So I was bringing in the same amount of money, but taking a lot more time to do it. So now I know that between 80 and 90% of my business needs to be pantograph. And then if I had time, I would do 10 to 20% as custom. Unfortunately, I don't have time to do that right now. I'd like to get back to having time to do it though.
Right. Well, and also too, within that pentagraph, I break that down. Let's break that down even farther. I have some of my pantographs, those ones that stitch out quicker, my bread and butters that are,
Right.
so you could break it down even farther.
Yes.
Yes, bread and
Bread
butter.
and butter quilt.
Sherry, we're on the same wavelength, friend.
Yeah. Well,
So
and I
it's
charge different for different pantographs. So depending on the customer, if they don't want to pay as much, they're going to pay less and do one of my bread and butter panos as opposed to doing, like royal plume that takes forever because every time you do one little feather plume, you've gone back and forth 3 times, right?
right,
So,
right.
um, yeah,
Well, and here's the other thing too. It's educating your customers on what custom quilting really is.
yeah,
Um, people
yeah,
think I think people outside the quilting world for sure and newer quilters don't realize realize how much time is actually in long arm quilting. I love when customers who I've been quilting for then decide to rent from us. And then they're like, "Wow, I just didn't realize, like, a half hour I'm in it a half an hour before I even get started." It's like, yeah, you're loading the quilt. There's that time. So
yeah,
it's just educating our customers of why and the whys and the whats. And most of them are understandable. And so you can say, "This is the reason why we charge more."
yeah. And if you are getting into the custom quilting, the other thing I would tell you, Susie, is do not undervalue what you're doing.
Right.
If you are not charging over 4.5 cents a square inch, you are making less than minimum wage.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
in a heartbeat.
I can go and work at McDonald's and not have near the amount of stress,
Right, right,
right? I could be a greeter at Walmart. I can say hi to people,
right,
and not have this amount of stress by any means, right? So
right.
definitely charge out at what you're worth. And if you're doing
Mhm.
custom quilting, even if you're new, you're worth a lot more than minimum wage.
Yes, even if you're new, you have
Even if you're new.
invested in your equipment, you have invested in the education, you have invested in yourself. So
Ex-
you are worth it.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So yeah. That's one thing I never really had a problem for. I've always charged what I needed to for custom quilting. But I also had the local custom quilters that told me, they were very honest upfront, "Don't come in here and undercut. It's not you won't have any friends."
Right.
and all of us ended up staying friends. Sherry was part of that group too. We were all in a group together, right?
Mhm.
Um, and we're all still friends
That's
because we
awesome.
weren't trying to undercut each other, right? That's not the
Right.
way to get customers. It sounds really easy, but it's not the way to get customers.
Well, and customers are good and smart, and they'll understand. So, because at some
Well,
point, right?
yeah, the other thing is, if you only have customers that want you to work cheaply,
Mhm.
right? That puts a lot more wear and tear on you and on your machine, right? You want customers who are willing to pay what you're worth.
So one of my friends, Jen, told me because we have this conversation about whether how you've priced your product. Excuse me for 1 second, please. I need to cough. So hold on just a second, please.
It's
Wow, guys, I'm so sorry.
yes, we couldn't hear you cough. It's okay.
Okay, good. I went with my grandchild to visit my other grandchildren. So the germ pool was new to me.
Well, that
Yeah.
and you went to Texas and all the bluebonnets were in bloom and the
Oh, for sure. They're beautiful.
fireflowers? Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So we were just
Everything
talking
is
about
orange and green right now in North Carolina. So,
is
yeah,
it?
it's gotta be that
We
way
are
in Texas right now too.
we just have barely little baby buds coming out.
Oh,
So we're
really? No, our
yeah.
tulips are gone. Tulips are gone. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, cherry
Man,
trees have bloomed and dogwoods have bloomed and they're gone too for the most part.
we're freezing tonight, so it's all good. Um
Hence why I don't live in Omaha.
That's right. And welcome to the world. Right. So we were talking about just to get back on and we stop
Yeah.
squirreling. We were talking about do you remember?
Quilting.
Quilting. I know quilting, but what part what was that last
Oh,
do we were
I had just given them their lecture that they are worth a lot and they need
oh,
to charge
and my
appropriately.
friend Jen, thank you. My friend Jen said the most beautiful thing that was so funny. Um, I'm L'Oreal and I'm worth it.
Yeah.
So we should all have that tattooed in our on the inside of our eyelids. I'm L'Oreal and I'm worth it because we all are, right?
Yep.
Every single one of us. What are some of the things when besides modern and traditional and things that you look at when you pick your panographs?
Also looking for things that are novelty, right?
Mhm.
So in your case, you might be looking for things that have tractors on them or things maybe a cute corn motif, right? Because that's more local to you, than it
Mhm.
would be for me. Tractors would not, for the most part, be a huge thing in North Carolina.
Mhm.
Um, things that might be, on both of ours, things that are like space themed or things that, are technology themed, right? Because we're both high tech areas, right? So yeah. So you wanna look at things that are appropriate for the area you're in. So, like, in my area, acorns are huge. We're the city of oaks, right? So, um, we quilt a lot of things with acorns on them. I bet that's not a big thing in Omaha.
Mm-mm. It's all good.
Yeah. So
Sherry
yeah.
has a great comment. Most of us started out long arming because we were passionate about quilting. I think it's hard to think of it as a business instead of a hobby.
I agree.
I agree to a certain point, Sherry. So, as somebody who has started out as a very passionate quilter, and I still consider myself a very passionate quilter, as I consider you a very passionate quilter, and Angela, um, our experience is worth something, and our time is worth a lot, and it's okay to be the expert. It's okay to be that passionate about my work that I wanna share it with other people. It's not that I'm not trying to do that. I love that hence why we're spending tonight talking to you everyone here about how to pick up panographs. You are kinda worth it. It is when you start thinking of it different than a hobby, that I'm sharing it with others that I wanna continue this business to grow, that's when I can get even more passionate. It's just been crazy thinking about that. I've only been in business as a brick and mortar for 5 years, right?
Yeah.
You've been a lot longer. As a brick and mortar working with my son-in-law, I did have a couple years in my basement as well, but,
Yeah.
as a brick and mortar with my son-in-law, but the more I get into this and the less treat it as a hobby and as a business, the more excited and the more I wanna share with people.
Yes, but you're also focused on it being a business, and I think when people first get their long arms, you're gonna have people who are very business
Mhm,
focused and can go right into this. I am starting a business and I'm gonna be a business person and I'm gonna be serious about this. But you're also gonna have a group of people that are like taking their hobby and what they love
mhm,
and kind of morphing it in between a business and a hobby. Like, I'm gonna be making money off of this, but I still wanna love it, right?
mhm, mhm,
And you guys, you can completely do that, right? But when it comes down to the business side of this, if you are running it as a business, you need to talk like it's a business too, right? And I think that's what
right.
Sherry's trying to say is to divide, if you're gonna run it as a business, don't treat it like a hobby, right?
Or if you do treat it as a hobby, it's on your own time and to still keep that hobby alive, there's that thin line of running a business and
Yeah.
then still trying to find time to quilt for yourself
Well,
or to
finding things that
piece.
bring you joy in quilting still, that don't
Yes.
have anything to do with your business, and you and I both try to find the time to do that. You're Tammy's morphing hers. She's mid-morph. She's
Good. I'm still morphing, Tammy.
yeah.
I think we're always in a the nice thing I like to think about quilting is this quilting world is, um, gosh, it's so just amazing. It's just an amazing part to be a part of as a quilter, as a business owner, as a all of that. Don't you think so, Angela?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Love it. Oh, Tammy's gonna see us in June. I bet she
Yay.
and
What's
she'll see
happening in
Susie.
June?
It's June. I think Susie's gonna see us in June too.
Yes.
So June, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, Kathy
Mhm.
and I and Tracy Russell and Angela Huffman will all be teaching at the APQS All-Star event in Franklin, Tennessee, which is outside of Nashville.
Mhm.
Um,
And I'm bringing
and
my sidekick, Jacob.
you
Jacob
are
is gonna
bringing
be down there.
Jake.
Yep.
He will be there as well. You may meet some of our other family members as well.
My new
Um,
grandbaby.
Grandbabies should be
Mhm.
there, yes.
Mhm.
Grandbaby better be there by then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or Anna's an elephant.
I guess.
Well, I mean,
I
like,
like Anna,
yeah, gestational wise, I'm sorry.
gestational-wise.
I'm
Let's put it this way, that baby's coming either way by that point. I don't think she's
yeah, oh,
gonna
yeah.
let it go that long.
May 10th is the last day it gets to stay hibernating.
Yeah. But yeah, so if you're interested in, um it's gonna be a really neat retreat that they're holding.
Mhm.
They want to take
It's a
care of
once
you,
in a
so we're
lifetime
going to
thing.
be feeding you. I know breakfast and lunch for sure. I think,
Mhm.
there's hors d'oeuvre
Breakfast,
stuff at
lunch.
night too.
Mhm.
Um, there's gonna be time that you can talk to all 4 of us when we're not in class in the evenings, and you get to choose
Ama
what classes you want. So,
It's
yeah.
gonna be the first ever APQS All-Star Retreat.
Yes, this is the first one, and I still and, I don't know about Kathy, I'm still pinching myself, I can't believe I get to be there. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I'm almost to
So,
the freak out point.
almost to the freak out point.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
almost there.
Cool, Tammy's coming
Because,
down the
I
1st.
wanna just still do more projects, so, of course, driving back through Oklahoma, I thought, "Well, what if I made a buffalo on leather? That would be good."
She told me that, and I was like, "Let's make it 3D and 6 and full size, 6 feet
Yeah,
tall, big buffalo."
so I'm gonna do, I think, a buffalo. I gotta figure I'm not gonna do it before next week, but I'm gonna come back and get some leather, and I'm gonna dye and outline a buffalo and put the muscles in there and all the good stuff and put some, yeah, a 7-hour drive. You'll be fine, Tammy. You're gonna be good. You're gonna do an awesome. It's not too bad. Break it up a little bit, you'll be good. 7
Yeah.
hours is like 3 pit stops. It's not that long.
Yeah, that's about how long it'll take me to get there too.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have baby in tow, so we will see.
It's gonna take you longer. It's got baby in tow.
And we're gonna have some machines with us too, so I'm excited. We're actually helping deliver the machines as well. So, it's gonna be
Yeah.
fabulous. Um, the topics that you guys need to sign up, I think some of the classes are full, some of them are filling up super fast and are if not full.
Yeah.
But you and I have demo classes that
The demo
people
classes tend to
electrician
have more people in we can have more people in the classes than the hands-on classes can. So if you're looking at hands-on classes, you definitely wanna sign up. I know that there are some available still on the 2nd day for sure, because
Mhm. 2nd
Angela's,
day. Mhm,
panel one is still open for
mhm,
sure.
mhm,
So there are still some hands-on classes available, guys. So if
mhm.
you're looking for that, um, definitely get up there and sign up for sure.
Oh, thank you,
I
Sherry. That's gonna be
Sherry
so I
likes
cannot
me.
wait to I've never been there, so I'm excited.
I've
My
been there with
classes
Sherry.
yeah, my classes are a little bit different. Your classes are a little bit different. Yours are very yours is very niche. What are you, gonna be
I'm
doing?
teaching path. I tried to get, we were all saying what we were gonna do, and I started, saying I wanted to do things that weren't quilt path, and they all looked at me like, "Mm, go back to quilt path." It's not that I can't teach other things, I can. Um, Not everybody who's going can teach quilt path. So they were like, "We need you to go back to quilt path." So
Right.
all of mine
That's
are
your
quilt path, but
your
I've got,
creative path.
classes on pattern CAD,
Mhm,
um, doing Power Panto. I have 4 different classes on Quilt Path. So yeah.
mhm.
And then
Um,
your
I have
classes.
some wild, wild classes too besides hands-on. I mean, I don't have the hands-on classes, but so, I love that machine, anything almost but edge to edge quilting. So I like to take that machine and see what it can do,
Yeah.
right? So you can piece on that machine. I might talk about crumb quilting and bag making. I'm going to talk about working with leather and how you can make artwork out of it. Cause this long arm, APQS, nothing but the best. So I'm really kind of excited about making it and show and doing some fun things. And then we're going to talk about good old tension. When
And how
and
to take
how to
your
fix our
tension out of it.
tension. Yes, yes, and how to take your tension out of tension, right? That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one, Angela, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
And
yeah,
probably
it's gonna be
and you know
great.
what? It's gonna be a great discussion. We can talk about how do you pick pantographs? You could ask that question. Tammy, and,
I know
Susie, you would
Susie's
need
coming
to come up
too.
with some fabulous, fabulous questions because you get to ask us.
Yeah.
Panel discussion. I challenge you guys to come up with a good one for Jake since he's not here and he's not listening.
Yeah. He's not listening tonight. So yeah, if you wanna help us out, come up with something really technical to ask Jake. Put him on the spot.
Yeah, he'll be great. He'll be awesome.
He'll get us.
He'll know. I put everybody up to it. So when we get, I love that quilt behind you, Tammy. By the way, I absolutely. I've said that before. I'm going to say it again.
Mhm.
That is just fabulous. So love it.
It's a beautiful red and white quilt.
Mhm. Mhm. So on other things too, as a new quilter, whether you're a renter, domestic, or long arm or free motion quilting, um, getting started, would you say try to perfect a like you did swirls for a while before you moved on to feathers? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I would say start with something, that feels natural to you. So for me, it is swirls. I am not a meandering was not natural for me at all. I have to really concentrate when I do it, number 1, and I tend to want to throw other things in it when I'm doing it. So doing an all over stipple on a quilt is painful for me. I don't enjoy that at all. But if you tell me I can do swirls on your quilt, you are my best buddy. I will swirl in and out all over that quilt all day long and not think twice about it. Right.
Right.
So
Mhm.
to me, that was a very natural movement. So you want to find your natural movement, throw some practice cloth on and just let yourself quilt.
Mhm.
and think of, try to do a meander. See how that feels for you. Try to see if doing a meander with loops feels more natural for you. Soon as I throw loops, stars, flowers, anything into that meander, I feel a lot better, right?
Right?
And then I can
Crazy
see
thought
all of
though, isn't it? It's a
yeah,
crazy thought.
yeah. And teaching yourself how to do the path of a meander, even if it's not a natural motion for you, lets you do a lot of other quilting. It lets you it helps you learn how to move across your quilt and fill the entire space of your quiltable space up.
Mhm.
Okay. So and there's a trick to that. And then, how to keep the bottom edge of what you're quilting soft so that when you go to quilt and match up the next row, you don't see there's a row straight across,
Right.
right? So you kind of want to leave it undulating and soft at the bottom so you can, take a loop and throw it up into the line above it and then come back down and make it all look like it meshes together, right?
Yeah, what you don't where it doesn't start, where it doesn't end, you don't know.
Yeah. So a lot of people when they're teaching you how to start free motion quilting will start off with an all over um stipple or meander as, your basic track and then start throwing in loops, double
Mhm.
loops, like when you swirl twice around a loop, go around it and go around it again. Doing flowers, which is just a loop with, little bumps around it, right? To start out with. And then, throwing stars in them. And that gets you through a lot of quilts. Okay.
I would say start with your A, B, C's because
Yeah.
you already know how to cursive write. And what
Right.
you need to do is to get the feel of your beautiful machine, whether you're
Yep.
pushing your fabric through or you're working on your machine. Your A, B, C's you already have up here.
Yeah.
Do that same cursive line straight across. That's what I
Right.
would say. And then you can move it from there and make them kind of calligraphy ABCs.
You can do an entire border just using an A, just coming up, looping around, and doing the next A and looping around,
Yes.
right? They look awesome. So I actually somewhere in have a purse where I was doing rows. I had black fabric on my long arm, and I was had just broken it up into like sashing strips and had
Mhm.
quilted these big long sashing strips, trying to teach myself different designs. I made it into a purse because I used variegated thread, and it's
Mm,
still one of my favorite purses.
yummy.
Yeah, was easy, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, ABCs are great, and if you know how to cursive write, you are ahead of the game.
There
Think
you
about
go.
this one, the people who are in their 20s and are starting into long arm quilting, they don't know cursive. Threes and
Threes and
E's is another one that's great, Sherry. Yeah,
L's and E's. L's and E's.
so you're
Fabulous.
talking this way, L's and E's.
Yep.
You can also do a 3, and then you reverse back and do like, you do this way and then go like this, and you have another design.
Yep.
So capital E's and the number 3 will also give you a different design. And then she's talking L's and E's, big L, right? Is what
Age does have its benefits, sweetheart. Yes.
who knew? We
Right?
have our own secret code. I'm just telling you.
They may know how to handle the digital world, but if it all crashes and we have to read an old document, we're here to save the day. That's what it's all about,
Yes,
right?
it is.
All right. Does anybody have any questions that we can help ask you guys, answer for you guys? Because let's get in some of you guys involved here. What would you guys like to hear? Any questions? Any thoughts? I love that you guys are asking some questions. It's awesome.
I love that they're interacting with us. They're starting to get
Absolutely.
comfortable with us.
Yeah. Yeah. Age has its benefits. Age always has its benefits.
Yeah, and while we're waiting for people to type in questions, keep thinking of questions and typing them in. I also want to ask if you guys could do us a favor and go up to YouTube. And if you have not already subscribed to the Quilting Academy on YouTube, if you could do that for us, it would be a big help. We are really close to getting to a milestone number on YouTube. And it would be a big help if you could subscribe and get your friends to subscribe too.
Right.
We're not looking for that many people, trust me. We just
Oh,
need a
look
few.
at this. Denise has a great thing. Me meandering and throwing in a flower or something. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, Denise, you know what this is, okay, this is not rocket science. And you're looking at 2 people married to rocket scientists. Okay, so this is just letting your brain kinda go. Yes, and so you throwing in those little things. Yes, sometimes that helps break up and the stiffness and the angst you get in your shoulders.
Okay, Susie, I have a question. Do you like your feathers when you're drawing them? Because she said, any tips for practicing feathers? When you're drawing on them on your like on a sheet of paper, do you like them better than when you're quilting them?
Ah, there's a good question. What's your reasoning before yes, she loves them
Okay,
better
let
drawing.
me explain why. Because you're practicing on a piece of paper and you're not practicing on cloth.
Okay.
So you already know the mechanics of drawing your feathers because you like them on paper. So what you need to do is get some practice cloth on and give yourself the okay for things to not look good to begin with. If you practice for a half an hour, they'll look better at the end of the half an hour than the beginning. And then I'm going to give you a challenge that somebody gave me at one point. If most of the time they're okay, and every once in a while you're just not happy with like one section of it,
Right.
I want you to throw a quilt on that you're not married to, maybe a donation quilt, and feather the whole thing. Just do all
Mhm.
of her feathers all over it, and then take it off and look at it. And I think you'll
There
be
you go.
surprised at how good you actually are.
I would say one hint about going on feathers is how you bring it back to the spine. I think
Yeah,
that's where
you need to
everybody
immerse
has
it.
an issue.
Oh, yeah. So the other thing, what Sherry's saying is draw a circle and understand if you draw your circles right-handed or left-handed, meaning do you circle clockwise or counterclockwise, right? Because you may also be trying to draw your feathers the opposite direction. So if you don't think about it and you just draw a circle, do you do it this way or this way, right?
Mhm.
Okay, whichever way you draw a circle naturally, your feathers need to face that direction, right? So you're going to go up and draw. I draw my feathers slanted this direction at least starting out with instead of the opposite direction because I draw my circles clockwise. And I also had a teacher once tell me that it is easier if you do it counterclockwise than clockwise. I don't know if that's true or not. Um, yeah, she also looked at mine and told me that we needed to talk after class because my feathers were just fine. That it was me, not
Okay.
my feathers.
There you go,
Wax
Tammy.
on,
Wax
wax
on, wax
off.
off. And again, age
Mhm.
comes into handy here.
I mean, practice things like a feather brief. You've got to go in every direction,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So yeah. But yeah, and you do need to kind of lay those feathers down on the spine. They can't be standing straight up. They've got to kind of slope onto that spine.
Otherwise, they look like fingers
Yeah. Or
going back
potato
on your
chips.
hand. Right. Or potato chips, you said?
Yeah. Sometimes they're really big and wide and they look like potato chips.
That's a good one.
So you kind of want to
Practice.
stretch them out a little bit. Okay, I have a German Shepherd on my lap. Excuse me for just a second. Off.
Right. So see, look at this. We're all good. This is all live. Um, so a time, what about a tip on practice cloth?
Sausages.
Sausages. Ooh, that's a good one. Um, I tell people to save money on practice cloths that you got your backing on, put your batting
Mhm,
on, and you got your top on. Well, you
mhm,
finish that whole top, it's all filled in, right?
mhm.
What you can do is just throw another top on and go at it.
And I say just change your thread a couple times.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true too.
go over like, if you're using white fabric, do it with white, do it with pink, do it with blue, so you can see the differences on it, right? And then
Mhm,
when you can't tell where you're going because there's too much thread, then
mhm.
put a piece of fabric on top of
Right.
it and keep going. And
There you
then
go.
when you've got those kind of stiff quilts that you've made, cut them up and give them to your vet or the local, I give them to the ASPCA.
There you go.
So yeah, and they can just cut them and put them into the kennels. They don't even have to fix the edges at that point because, to be quite honest, they're not even going to wash them.
Right. They're gonna just use them once and throw them away.
Okay,
So,
go
all
ahead.
right.
So yeah, the dogs are about to go outside so that they stop trying to sit in my lap real quick. So
Oh,
you're going to hear them beep. Yeah,
you're fine, hun. You're doing just fine.
just shut the door.
Um, so the thing also when you're doing that feather, the practice Susie, make sure you go back on that spine. Like think about when you exit the freeway,
Mhm,
how it curls around. That helps me.
mhm.
I have little sayings in my quilty brain that are dumb and stupid, but they help me quilt and they help me say things. So I'm getting off the freeway, whoop, going back on the freeway, getting off the freeway, going back on the freeway. When I'm doing my binding, here's the funniest ones. When you're piecing your binding, you want your I'm trying to see if I can do this with 2 fingers. Let me see. I'm gonna just draw it real quick because that's what I'm gonna just do. When I'm piecing my binding, I have a really funny saying in my brain that truly helps me. Here's my binding. I'm gonna sew the strips together, right? How and do I know which way I'm gonna do that seam? I'm gonna draw across the waistline, never up the crotch. Like it looks like a pair of pants.
Okay.
I hope I just made everybody laugh because it looks like a pair of pants, right? All right.
Wow.
Yeah. Plumes are different sizes. No issue with okay. Well, that's just going to get control. Slow down a little bit,
Mhm.
Susie. Slow down. This is not a race to see how fast you can quilt that feather.
And just
Okay.
you might also want to put something down on your quilt surface that is about the size that you want it to be. Like, let's say you want the tops of your feathers to be the size of a nickel or the size of a quarter. Set one on the surface of your quilt so you have a visual. Yeah.
All right. Tina, you're never going to look at binding the same again. I promise you. Yes, I say it out
Right.
every single time I cross the waistband. Cross the
That's what I have to
waistband.
do binding when I'm doing that, especially that last joint.
Mhm.
I have to do it the same way every single time or I mess it up every single time.
Right. So I have this weird sayings about all of my quilting, whether I'm bearing threads or I'm making binding, when I'm piecing, it's all good.
I also have one if you are free motion quilting and you are not using your stitch regulator.
Mm.
Find a song that lets you work at the tempo that feels right to you. It's like
Mhm.
one of my friends sings Winnie the Pooh constantly the whole time she's free motion quilting to keep her stitches regulated the whole time. That's not the one I would pick.
Fabulous
It would
idea.
drive me nuts after a while, but I tend to put music on when I'm free motion quilting for the same reason, right?
Yes. Mhm. Or
Yeah.
some people listen to podcasts, some people listen to book on
Mhm.
tapes because it makes this shut up why this goes.
Yeah.
Right? We need to calm the gray matter down to thinking too much. When we start thinking too much, so maybe Susie, that's an exercise that you need to do is you need to practice them with some music on or with a TV show or something where you get this to calm down and you're not thinking about what you're doing. Because sometimes those are the better ones or actually try to yeah, I try to
Mhm.
look back to see I'm like, "Oh, I wasn't thinking there. I did pretty good."
Yeah. And then the last one is, I mean, set it 6 feet away from you when you're judging it, guys. Don't judge it in
Yes.
the frame because you're gonna pick
Mm-mm.
everything out if you do.
There's magic pixie dust when
Yeah,
it goes from here to
to,
here.
here, right?
Yes,
So,
pixie
s
dust.
set it away from you. Hang it on the wall and step way back,
That's right.
and then pretend like it's not your quilting. If it was
Yeah.
someone else's quilting, would you think it was okay?
Mhm. And
Right.
most of the time, everybody looks at the whole and we look at the part, whether it be my your piecing, your long arming, your binding. So it's all good. Are they back?
You can hear the elephants running into the room, can't you?
No, I just know your facial expression, they're back. Her dogs are
Yeah.
back. Her
So the
beautiful
younger one
dogs.
has decided that my mom and dad flew in today and my nephew. So Neil is over here trying to keep them entertained. It's mostly just Ada, the younger one. But Ada keeps running up, checking on grandma and grandpa, and then running back down and looking at me like there's strangers up here, mom. What are you doing, Dad? Let's go back upstairs, right?
She's a German Shepherd for sure.
Yeah, I don't know that you guys are hearing it because I feel like the reason I'm reacting is I think it sounds like an elephant running in and out of my room. So yeah.
Okay. So
That's
Brenda Tracy is no longer part of Quirky Quilters. She has worked on some other ventures and she is
yeah,
moving forward with some other exciting things. And we're very, very, very happy for her.
yeah.
So super excited for her. She's got some great ventures going. So she's plugging away and still quilting as crazy as she can. She is still being as awesome as usual.
Yep.
So, all right.
Blue Bloods. Judy listens to
Mm,
Blue Bloods.
that's crazy. That's awesome. No, I
Mine
love
used to
it.
be NCIS. I can listen to it, start at the beginning and listen to the whole series. I can also do Harry Potter books. That books on tape the same way.
You're welcome, Brenda. We're happy for what
Yeah.
Tracy's doing on her adventures. It's really a lot of fun watching her. So I'm sure if you catch up with her, it'll be all good. It's all we're seeing all of her excitement. So as with all of us, speaking of social
Yeah,
media, Angela, what do you think? We all put our great stuff out on social media. So where can
we
you find
do.
us, Angela?
So obviously you can find us on the Quilting Academy, which
Mhm,
is a mighty network. And it's what this live is part of is the Quilting Academy.
mhm,
You can also find us on YouTube as Threadwaggle or Fabric Bash, right? Our company names. We're also
mhm.
on Facebook, still as Threadwaggle and Fabric Bash because that's who we are. I do Instagram. I think you do too, is
Oh,
Kathy.
yeah.
Kathy.
Mhm,
So we all do multiple different social media venues with our company names. There will be the Quilting Academy will soon have a page on Facebook as well. There's a page there, but we haven't published anything to it. And it's more going to be trying to direct people to the Mighty Network. I don't see us ever actually doing a lot of social media posting up there as far as questions and answers. The whole idea behind that was to get it off of Facebook. So but we do have that Facebook page already set up. We just haven't made it live yet.
So for those who are new to the Mighty Network, how do you get there? Because it's
So
a
if
new
you look,
word.
yeah, so yeah, so if you look at the link, there's a link in the description below that you can use to sign up for the Mighty Network. If it's not there right when we go, the link won't be there until this goes live or isn't live anymore until after it's recorded, right?
Mhm.
And then there'll be a link down in the description of the video for you to click on to join. And
Fabulous.
I'll make sure that it's there.
Right. Yep,
'Cause
we sure will.
yeah,
But
I
if
have
you could, the things that you can help us out that are free is to thumbs up
yep,
and follow the social medias that we are on. Those are free and sharing. If you
mhm,
just share and say, hey, I heard a great tip from Angela on how to practice for feathers, or I heard a great tip on Kathy how to put binding,
mhm,
my kind of a fun thing. So to share that kind of fun stuff because that is free, but it
yeah,
means a lot to us and it actually tickles us to all kinds of fancy feathers on when we see things that are shared. It's kind of fun.
yeah, and you hear that on any YouTube video, any Facebook video that you're doing, like, comment, and share.
Mhm,
The reason that any content creator is saying that is because it helps us with the algorithms for those websites, meaning that
mhm.
we're presented to more people that way, right? Which then helps us build our audience. And that's all stuff that those, YouTube and Facebook and Instagram care about, right?
Yep.
Is if we're creating content that we're creating content that people want to know about.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, Miss Angela, I'm glad your mom and dad are there and
Yeah,
Neil. And it's been
I
about
am
an
too.
hour.
It
I
has.
know. No. And it's been
It's
wonderful
already
spend
over.
I know, it just started. And it's been wonderful spending it with all of you. So thank you for letting us gab at you. You guys are fabulous for listening to us. We appreciate you very much.
And
I'm gonna be huh?
Oh, I was gonna say, and next month, because we know what our topic is for next month already, we are gonna be talking a little more about maintenance, not just long arm maintenance. Well, we all do domestic, or Kathy and I both do domestic machines too. So we're gonna be talking about maintaining sewing machines,
Mhm.
domestic sewing machines, long arm sewing machines, and we're hoping Jake's gonna feel like he can be with us that day. We'll see how it is with
Probably not, because
not.
baby will
Well,
be just born.
so would it be better to do that in June then?
Probably.
Okay, so we might want Jake to be there for that one since he's,
Yeah.
the main tech. So,
I'm just saying it's too
that one
close
off
to
to Jake.
baby's birth that it's gonna be in family, it's gonna be in town, so oh, thank you, Brenda, you're
Aw,
wonderful. You're
thanks.
so sweet. I'm gonna be at Paducah next week. If you all are at Paducah, stop in the APQS booth. Make sure you give me a hug. Tell me that you watch us on Quirky Quilters. I would love that. Tell your friends that we're gonna be down there. I'm gonna be at APQS. Angela has her family there. This is why she probably will
Mhm.
not be there, but I'm gonna be there for the very first time
It's
going
your
to Paducah.
first time. She has
Anybody have
no
any
idea what
hints
she's
for
getting in
me?
for.
I know. Give me some hints. I'm also part of a scavenger hunt between 8 of us shops, and it's gonna be fabulous, and it's gonna be I'm gonna have a piece to a puzzle, and when you get all the puzzle pieces together, it's gonna be something wonderful. So, stop in and make sure you get the puzzle piece from APQS booth 1619 and 1617. Look at
Okay.
that, I knew the booth number.
Yep. The other thing I wanted to say is that, on the Mighty Networks, I started something that I called Thursdays with Threadwaggle because I'm not very creative with naming things. So there are posts going up every Thursday. I'm trying to make sure that we are a little bit more active on the Mighty Network. And then I also have a new YouTube series starting in May, which is going to be on Quilt. And then I
Yay.
have content dropping weekly about Elna's on my page right now. So, and then Kathy just has lots of content because she's better at this as far as
No.
funny shorts and stuff like that. She does really funny stuff. If you have not liked her on Facebook, you really should.
They're
Um,
really good if you go to Instagram too, so yeah.
Instagram, that's true. She does a lot of them on
Yeah.
Instagram too.
Well, they're
But
all everywhere, but no,
yeah,
I
wear
get some help
comfortable
these
shoes.
days. Wear comfortable shoes,
Sherry said to wear
exactly.
comfortable shoes. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel everything needs to be comfortable. I gotta be comfortable shoes, comfortable clothes, it's gonna be great. I'm excited,
Definitely.
though. Thank you, Sherry, for that. That's fabulous. I love it. All right, dear. The quilt behind you is beautiful, as usual. I
Thank you.
love
It
it.
is my mom's,
I
believe it
know
or
it's
not. It's a,
it's
Gravity by Jaybird. It was a block of the month, but this one happens to be my mom's.
that's I love that pattern. I just love that pattern.
Me
So,
too. It's a happy
all
quilt.
right. All right, everybody. Keep on quilting. Keep on asking the questions and keep us going because you guys keep us going every day.
Yes, ma'am. Mm.
Bye, dear.
Bye. Have a good day.